Hello there and welcome to the Bicycle Diaries and welcome to the village of Liphook, where I'm going to be doing a ride down memory lane. I've come over to the house where I used to live in the early 1980s when I was about 13 because this is essentially where my love of cycling first started. Now, I didn't learn to ride a bike here, that was in a place called Headley Down, and we'll go over and visit that in a little bit, but this is where I lived and where I started cycling to school. So today we're going to ride the route that I used to do when I rode to school. The centre of Liphook seems to be a lot busier than I remember it. My ride to school was only about 5 kilometres and I had two fairly basic choices. I could have taken Tunbridge Lane back there and ridden past silent movie icon Boris Karloff's house. It was a much nicer route, but it was slightly longer. Or I could have taken this route that we're doing now, which is kind of, it's a B road, so it's not going to be desperately busy, but it was a bit quicker. And yeah, knowing me, running late in the mornings, not very keen to get to school, this would have been my route. I think that was called Westlands Hill, and it was my only climb of the day on the way to school. And it's interesting seeing it today using the Karoo, because at the top there it's 9%, and even today I can still remember how tough that was going up there. But in those days I was riding a very different bike and I didn't have a cycling computer at all. Back in those days, I rode my first ever road bike, which was a Raleigh winner that my dad bought from one of the local supermarkets, ironically quite close to where I live now, in September 1982. It was an alloy frame, had 5 friction shift gears, and it was pretty heavy. It also had a fairly strange arrangement on the handlebars. Instead of bar tape, it had kind of foam rubber, which made it a little bit uncomfortable, but I absolutely loved that bike. I rode it everywhere. All my friends lived a little way from where I lived, and that's why I had to cycle to school, because I went to a school in the town where I didn't, or I lived in the town where I didn't go to school. And it was also my freedom machine, so I'd get on the bike at weekends and cycle over and go and see my chums. Well, here I am standing on the corner where all my friends used to wait for me in the mornings. I'd ride my bike along that road there, turn into the road here and park my bike in a house just down there and come back and see my friends. My school's just over there, so we'll go and have a look at that in a minute. But yeah, I used to park my bike in a house down here, never used to lock it up and never had any worries about it not being there when I got back. And this, boys and girls, is all that's left of my school. Now, I knew it had been demolished, but this is the first time I've been back to have a look at it with my own eyes, and I must admit it's all rather sad. I've got some happy memories of being here, particularly meeting up with my friends, but yeah, it's really weird. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't the biggest fan of school. I think it's probably I have a problem with authority, and yeah, I think it's just the rebel in me. And had I turned up on a Monday morning to be greeted by this sight, I would have probably jumped for joy. But standing here today, all I recognise is the entrance, but beyond that it's literally been flattened and I just can't recognise anything at all. It's literally a building site, so it's completely different. Okay, so let's imagine that it's 3:15 on a Monday afternoon in 1982. It's school chucking out time, and I'm now riding back to my chum Carl's house, and to do that I kind of have to retrace my steps a little bit, but it does mean going through Headley Mill, and I haven't been down this road in years. Well, this is all a bit new to me. Back when I was a teenager, we used to get through the mill using a gate that was over there. But on the way down here, I just couldn't see it at all. It's been completely taken away and replaced by this bridge. Didn't even know this was here, but it looks like it's been here a while. Thought I'd walk up there because it's all a bit slippy. Yeah, while I was here I thought I might as well come and have a look at Headley Mill, just for kind of old time's sake. We used to walk through here sometimes on the way to school, and yeah, the geese and the ducks were pretty vicious, and I can see there are still some geese there now, so I'm not going to get too close. From Headley Mill we'll climb up the hill into Headley village, and on the way pass a piece of rock history. This is Headley Grange, and back in the 1970s, or the early 1970s I think, it was a recording studio, and Led Zeppelin recorded at least one album here. It was also kind of residential, so they would stay over and then they would record during the day and then sleep here at night. Unfortunately, I don't have any more information about that. I know for a fact that I've seen on a cover of a Led Zeppelin LP that it was recorded here, but being an 80s kind of synth pop chap, yeah, rock music isn't really my thing. But if you do like rock music, if you think this is cool, we're going to go somewhere else that's even cooler. I'm only about a kilometre down the road from Headley Grange, and that probably only takes about 5-10 minutes to walk. And the significance of that is that I'm at a place called Wheatsheaf Cottages. Now, back in the 1970s, this was a pub called the Wheatsheaf, and that much I know is true because I actually remember it firsthand. Now, of an evening, apparently, when Led Zeppelin were recording up at the studio, they would come down here and have a pint in the pub. And legend has it that one particular evening, they were sat in the pub's beer garden, sat there playing their guitars and stuff, and they wrote Stairway to Heaven. Now, I know many people probably won't believe that story, but it was told to me by a friend of mine whose parents ran the next pub in the village, so I'm rather inclined to believe it. Well, that was Bowcott Hill and Glaziers Hill, and even as a kid I thought those two were quite hard, and now I know why. Obviously, again, back in the day I was riding kind of kids bikes, not even a road bike, and no computer on it or anything, so I had no idea of gradient. But according to the Karoo today, both of those were about 12-13%. And this really was where it all started. I used to live in one of the houses behind me there, and when I was about 5, one of my sister's friends came round to come and play, and she brought her little bike with her, and she taught me to ride it in the back garden, and I've never looked back since. And then suddenly the heavens opened, and I'm just back in Headley taking shelter underneath the chestnut tree in the middle of the village. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane and the little items of rock history. Thanks for watching.